y'all. Welcome to Paige's Perspective, where I help you find your inner strength to cope with life. So I'm really into the series Ted Lasso right now. I know I'm really late to the game. Matt started watching it when it first started coming. I think when it first came out, and I just kept falling asleep, and he just ended up watching all of it. And now I started it over, and I'm like, I'm almost done. I'm obsessed. It's such a good show. There's always some really great life advice. And when I hear something that resonates, I grab my journal and I write it down. And there was an episode recently that I watched where Rebecca fell into a canal in Amsterdam, and she met a man who took her into his houseboat to get her all cleaned up and dry. And they were having a conversation, and he mentioned how his last partner cheated on him. And he said with time, he realized this thing didn't happen to me. It happened for me. So I paused the show, I grabbed my journal, and I wrote that down. It's not new information to me. It's something I've tried to live by for a really long time. And you may have heard how some people are grateful for the shitstorm of a life that they've been handed. And Matt would say, like, he's heard people in meetings say that they're a grateful alcoholic. And many years ago, it would make me cringe a bit whenever I heard this. Like, who wants this life? You know, I'll admit, I backtracked recently in my healing and mindset of this. I had a conversation with Matt how I felt angry that addiction was part of my life, and I had to go through so much bullshit. You know, why me? But that isn't how I really feel. You know, we sometimes get it wrong when we say we're grateful things happen to us. And I like to reframe it as I'm grateful for the tools I learned because I went through it. It's okay to go through the process of feeling like life isn't fair and you don't deserve to be treated a certain way. It's okay. And I think it's healthy to express that and not hold it in. But once I expressed it, I felt a bit lighter and also knew that it was time to change my perspective, because the truth is things did happen and I can't change anything about them. You know, that's the past. The only things that I can change is how I handle it going forward and how I perceive things that have happened. You know, I learned who I can and cannot trust. I learned that life isn't fair and we have to find ways to think in the gray area instead of thinking so black and white or all or nothing. You know, many of us have been conditioned this way to think that life is meant to be fair and that if you're good things will come. You know, that's not how life works. And sometimes we have to go through hell to understand that and learn how to cope with it. So I'm not grateful that I had a partner who, you know, manipulated, gaslit, and he was an addict. I'm grateful for the lessons that I learned from going through it. I'm grateful for the resilience it has helped me build. I'm grateful to be able to share our story so others can learn how to navigate this life. And that's the thing, you know, when you walk through fire and survive, you don't come out the same. You come out with scars. Yeah, but you also come out with clarity. And for many of us, you know, spouses or partners of addicts, we gain life lessons most people don't learn until they're forced to. So I learned how to trust my gut. You know, not that anxious, panicked voice that overthinks every move, but that deeper voice, the one that whispers, ooh, you know what? This just doesn't feel right. You know, I spent a long time overriding that voice, justifying things that didn't sit well with me because I didn't want to seem unsupportive or too much. But that voice, it was trying to protect me. And that's what our program, Independently Strong, was designed to do. It helps people learn to trust their guts again. It gives you validation and clarity to help you make decisions on your own. It allows space to feel however you need to feel without judgment. We're still offering it 75% off using the code Wheelie75 at independentlystrong.com. You know, whether you're still in the relationship or not, it can help you find yourself again. But this episode is just about all the lessons that I've learned while going through that life. So another lesson that I learned is that boundaries aren't punishments. They're protection. You know, for me, for my peace, for my kids, for my values. For a long time, I thought being kind, you know, meant being available or understanding or being forgiving, you know, no matter what. But now I know that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's just people pleasing, and it's going to drain the life out of you. So setting boundaries is scary because it's unfamiliar territory for many people. But it's not mean to stand up for yourself and take care of you. It's not selfish. I also learned that taking care of ourselves isn't selfish. It's necessary. But I have found how so many of us feel as though we don't even know where to begin to take care of ourselves because it just feels wrong. And I get it, but I know that once you start making those changes, you'll begin to understand why it's so important. I did an episode a while back on gentle self-care. If you want to go back and find that, I believe it was in early 2024. That might help you get started if you have no idea where to start on self-care. But I also learned in this life that love is not enough. And this one is hard for a lot of people to hear. Some people believe that love will fix it, that it's going to heal it, that it'll change it. We think if we love well enough, if we love hard enough, that the addiction is going to lose its grip or the person you're with is going to change. But addiction doesn't play fair and it doesn't respond to love. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away or at the very least step back. Many people see our story initially and they think, love is what got us through it, but that's not the case. I mean, in a sense, it's part of it because love is an action and Matt chose to take action by making important changes. If changes aren't being made, then is it really love? That's a tough question to ask, but the truth is going to set you free. It will piss you off at first, but we have to reframe love and what it truly means. It's not words. It's not date nights. It's not gift giving. It's not physical affection. It's not those passionate fights where nothing is resolved. Sure, those have a place, but true love? Fuck, y'all, it's deep. It's open conversations. It's hearing each other. It's giving each other space when asked. It's mutual respect. It's not just a feeling. It's compromising and challenging each other and supporting each other and making changes when necessary. That's love. If that's not happening, we have to question if it's love or a trauma bond. And I know that's hard. I know that stings. And I know that that's not what people want to hear. But I've talked about it before, how we start being naive. We start by being naive and then we become cynical and then we go into the wise stage. And this is just part of that process. So another thing that I've learned is that healing isn't linear. We've mentioned this a lot. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. It's very common across social media about how healing isn't linear, but I'm just going to kind of touch on my perspective here a little bit. You can be doing really well for months and even years. Okay. You can be doing really well for years. And then you suddenly hit a wall of grief or anger, confusion, maybe anxiety. And that doesn't mean that you're back at square one. It just means that you're human. Healing moves in waves. It's not straight lines. And the more grace you give yourself through the process, the more grounded you're going to become. And this one is always really hard for me because I thought I was in a really good place healing wise until recently when I decided to take some time off from recording the Wednesday episodes. I've recognized that I have more layers of healing to do because the work that we do is really deep. I've been out of addiction for 12 years and the chaos of it, but since I've been really vulnerable and putting myself out there, I realized that there are pieces of me that I need to care for. I struggled because I felt broken or like a failure since I don't have all the answers and I've had to take a step back. But I've since realized that this is life. This is part of my life. And I think we all will have things to unravel probably the rest of our lives. It's not like there is a quick fix for all the things in our lives that we're not really happy about. We will always be a work in progress. We will always find things within ourselves that we can change. And I don't think that's a bad thing or makes anyone a failure. I think it's something to look forward to as a challenge. For me, I've had a lot of old behaviors resurface that I thought I had dealt with. And that was really frustrating for me. But I know how to move through it. I know how to make changes. And I also know that this is a reminder that I need to listen to my body and make changes or set boundaries sooner than later. Trust my gut more. I know that's all very vague, but soon I'll be able to share in depth like what I'm really going through and the things that I've been processing all lately. But either way, just healing isn't linear and things can change at any moment. And we just have to accept that instead of beating ourselves up whenever we fall, because I'm very hard on myself. I've been pretty open about that, how I'm extremely hard on myself whenever I do fall. And that's, I don't want I don't want to say that's a flaw. It is somewhat of a character defect of mine because it holds me back. So I'm trying to shift my perspective on that and look at it as a challenge. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have those challenges. It just means that it's something that I need to work on. And that can be a fun process if I make it one. It's all about my perspective and how I think of it. So no, I'm not glad addiction happened in my life. But I am deeply proud of who I became because of it. And if you're listening and you're somewhere in the middle of your mess, maybe you're still unsure of what's next, I want to remind you that the clarity comes with time. Peace will come with your boundaries, and the strength is going to come with each choice that you make to show up for yourself. This is your life. You're allowed to grieve the way it turned out and also be proud of the way you're rising anyway. We have to remember that the bird didn't shit on us. It just shit. We can't sit in the mentality of why me or this isn't fair because it's going to hold us back. Feel it, learn from it. Life isn't fair. And the sooner we accept that, the more peace we're going to have. Sometimes we expect life to be a certain way, but we have been proven over and over again that it is full of surprises, and we learn to pivot when necessary. And if you're angry with the life you have right now, I hear you. I get it. You will get past that as long as you're working towards growth and change within yourself. You got this. I believe in you. Now you just have to believe in yourself. That's all I have for this week. Until next time, I'm Paige. Bye.